What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. This week I'm going to be sharing with you my experience of being a hoarder in a tiny house, an ex-hoarder, my challenges, the healing, the progress to get here, and how I'm doing so far. I've been living tiny for 3.5 years, and I have had a lot of challenges, and you guys have seen some of those, especially with some of my clutter videos. And I just wanted to share in this video how that journey is going. I actually never thought I was going to be able to go tiny until one day I thought if I just sold all of my stuff, then I could go tiny. I had the hoarder mindset, of course. I would go to garage sales, estate sales, and bring home all of this junk. It wasn't junk to me, but it was someone else's junk that I was now putting in my house. I wasn't necessarily going to be using it at that time, but I would put it away in storage and for like a later time, and the stuff started to accumulate. I kind of felt like I have never gotten over this hoarder mindset until I wanted to go tiny. I needed to get over some anxiety to get me through the tiny journey. Through that therapy, I also kind of changed my mindset to help me get rid of some of my stuff. I was holding on to some things in the past. Literally, I would actually save things in order to make me happy. Stuff that people gave me, again, like ribbons off of packages, pictures I would put all over my walls. I would have collages everywhere, especially growing up and in high school. I basically had to relearn how to live without all of that stuff. It was kind of a challenge because that stuff used to comfort me, and I kind of felt like if I gave that stuff up, that it would no longer be there to comfort me, no longer be there for me to look at or to basically have that nostalgic memory in my house. Now, through this healing process, I was able to get rid of at least 4,000 items of mine. I started to go to therapy, and again, my mindset changed into you don't need this stuff, only bring stuff that you need. So I started making lists in my planning and figured out that I only needed a specific amount of things, sold the rest, made about $10,000, and I actually used that money to buy some of the stuff for this tiny house because I was basically giving up all my other stuff. I wanted to buy all new stuff, but again, that gave me an excuse to buy new stuff because that's what my mind does, is I make excuses to buy more and bring it in. Now we're going to talk about collections. Now that I'm in my tiny house, I no longer collect things. My tiny house does have a theme. It is rustic, farmhouse, bohemian, and with the bohemian aspect, I kind of used dream catchers as my decor. Back in my apartment, my decor was all over the place because I collected so many different types of like niche things. Like there'd be crystals and gargoyles and fairies and dragons, and there's all different kinds of topics of things, and all of it matched to me, and it was kind of eclectic, but it was kind of just a hodgepodge of just anything that I wanted. And I sold all of that and had the mindset going into my tiny house, if I only decorated with one thing, it would be a lot easier for me not to bring stuff in. I no longer collect crystals. I no longer collect all of those tchotchkes that were on my shelves, and I no longer collect anything. I do decorate the house with the dream catchers, and I will buy one once in a while, but I only have about 10 to 15 total. More so 10, I think. So yeah, no more collections for me. No more shot glasses. No, I don't need any of that stuff. It all just sat just in case, and we don't need that stuff anymore. Next, we're going to talk about hobbies. I also no longer keep hobbies inside the house. Now, living in a tiny house, I would rather do outside stuff. But in my old apartment, I used to save crafts. I had crafts all over my closet. I had like bins where I would keep paints and things that I could paint, and then that stuff would be strewn out throughout the house. So no more hobbies. If I do have a hobby, it would be gardening. So I would keep the tools outside. Building stuff, so again, tools outside. The only hobby that I have in my house is books, and again, I don't really collect those anymore. I haven't been buying books. If I'm to read anything, I read stuff on the internet, or sometimes books, reference books and stuff like that, but no longer collect them, no longer have 400 of them. I actually gave all of that stuff up. Now let's talk about my efforts. Still living in my tiny house, I feel the need to bring in more stuff, say if I have the space. If I create more storage in my tiny house, I feel like I can fill those spaces with other stuff. Another thing is when I was decorating for the holidays, I felt like I was missing my holiday stuff. I used to have tons and tons and tons of holiday stuff for Yule and for Samhain, but when I sold all that stuff, I kind of gave it up for just a light sprinkle of decorations throughout my house. But my mind, when I'm shopping and seeing all this decorative stuff, I want to buy, and collect again, and I just can't do that. Through therapy, I keep telling myself to, Jen, you don't want that, you don't need that. So these are my efforts in not buying stuff and not bringing stuff in. It's very challenging, but it's a work in progress, even though I went through therapy, but through affirmations in my head. You don't need it, only buy what you need. Everything has a place. You know, all of these things that I say can help me and prevent me from buying stuff that I don't need. Now, this leads me into practice. So it kind of takes practice not to buy things that you don't need. Again, basically effort, but you have to practice it. You actually have to go out there, put yourself in a store and shop only for the things that you need. This includes practicing saying no to things that you don't need. Say, for instance, when someone offers to give you something that they don't need anymore, seriously contemplate on if you need that object or product or item, because if you don't, then it's just taking up unnecessary space in your tiny house or around your tiny house. Justification time. I actually do justify spending my money on things that I need, and I feel that's okay because if I'm actually using these things, then the things come in handy as opposed to just sitting on a shelf or sitting in storage. Things do still sit in storage, but for the most part, everything that I have in my tiny house, I use either on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, sometimes a yearly basis. I do have suitcase in my storage, but you know, if I'm not traveling, I'm not going to buy a new suitcase each time. So that stays in storage, but for the most part, anything that I bring in, I use. I justify that in that way. Now, as far as gifts are concerned, I know that people mean well when they want to give you gifts, but not all gifts can fit in your tiny house. So if somebody is giving me something as a gift, I would prefer that they give me something that I need. So again, because I use all this stuff, at least you're using a gift as opposed to having it say sit on a shelf and collect dust. I have had enough tchotchkes growing up my entire life, and the more that I have to move those little bits and pieces, I love them, but I just can't have them in my tiny house. Gifting things like gift cards or restaurant cards or things that you could eat, flowers, things that you can build stuff with, just things that a person needs, in my opinion, are much more beneficial than something that's just going to sit there or be used once. Gifts, I kind of just say, I don't want anything, I don't need anything. You know, I appreciate the thought, but if you do get me something, make it be something that I need. Now, as far as gifts are concerned, you don't really want to tell anybody no, but I personally don't have a problem with telling people no about gifts. I have chosen to live this different lifestyle, and I don't want certain gifts. Now, the more that I live in my tiny house, I find myself actually changing when it comes to not wanting to bring stuff in. I find myself frustrated at the fact that I do want to bring stuff in. I'm frustrated at the fact that when I do bring stuff in and it accumulates in my house, I don't have anywhere to put it. It makes me mad, and it makes me think, what are you doing? Stop, declutter something, and then don't do it again. Personally, I can feel myself growing and changing through this, you know, living like this, and the therapy has helped me. I'm actually really grateful for that. Not only am I changing, I am much happier without all of that stuff in my life. When I was growing up, I was collecting all this stuff, and it would prevent me from cleaning because I had hundreds of little things all over the shelves, and I would have to take all of that off. And again, I would get frustrated. I'd end up breaking stuff and throwing stuff off my shelves, and the whole cycle of hoarding stuff is frustrating, it's exhausting, it's draining. As I got rid of those things, as I peeled away parts of myself, as you know, when I was growing up, I just got rid of all of that stuff. I became so much happier not having to clean all that just dust off the shelves and cleaning in the corners and having to find room to put stuff that I didn't need. I am much happier. I love living tiny, and I love living without all of that crap. I just had to change that mindset in order for any of that to happen. I was a hoarder for about 40 years of my life, and now I'm finally changing and able to share my knowledge on how I got over all of this, the whole process, things I did to prevent myself from bringing stuff in, the challenges that I faced. You know, I can share all of that knowledge with the world now and hope that it helps somebody else, because I didn't think that I was ever going to get over me buying crap, like tons of shit, tons of stuff. I just didn't want that stuff in my house anymore. And honestly, I had to go to therapy in order to get over that, because it is not easy not wanting to bring in stuff that you want. For some reason, you know, you make excuses to save a Tupperware lid that doesn't belong to anything else. Why? Get rid of it. These are all the things that I can share with the world now. I'm sharing them through my videos. I'm sharing them on my social media accounts. I really hope this video has helped you guys. If you guys are hoarders, I want you to know that it is possible to get over that, whether it's with hard work or therapy or just some effort. You can really get over your hoarderism and not have all of that stuff control you. I did it. And yes, I'm still in the process of doing it, but it is not as hard as it seems. So no, I would say go for it if you're in the market, say for a tiny house, and this is something that's keeping you from doing it, is being a hoarder. Yeah, so I hope you guys are enjoying this journey. If you are and you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and click the notifications bell so you can receive a notification each time I post a new video, which is every Sunday. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Now, as far as gifts are, if somebody's giving me a gift, personally, I prefer if, don't put the mess up, and I would go to garage sales, estate sale, list. Don't go to the store when you're high. I'm being serious about that because of munchies. Don't put that. Maybe because I'm a little. Now, as far as gifts are concerned, I know people want to, don't put this.